and welcome to Rebel Republic on 97.9 Unity Radio. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. With us, as always, the man himself, Coach Schumann. Coach, hello.
Read my tagline, please. Come on.
Modern day George Washington.
I got to hear that you're the best podcaster in the universe every time.
I know, because I am.
What about our other guest?
Oh, the best, Miss Erica Higgins, who I got to see on Saturday.
I thought you forgot about me, Steve.
Well, no, I didn't forget about you. You were great. I got to see you over the
weekend.
Sounds
like you're in a long hallway.
Yes, it sounds like you're in a tunnel.
I'm not in a tunnel. I swear to God.
No, well, you can see that you're not in a tunnel. It just sounds like it.
No, I'm not in a
tunnel.
Better.
That's better. That's
again, jockey.
It's a little better. Yes, I did get to see you this weekend, Steve, and it was awesome. I was so proud of you. You did a great job.
I did. I tried my best.
Yes, Pete said he should go into public speaking.
Yeah, I know.
I said you do sort of 15 podcasts, so that is type of public speaking.
Did your father want you to be a lawyer?
No, never.
Did you ever want to be a lawyer?
No. I like watching the law and the cases and stuff, but no, I never wanted to be a lawyer.
Interesting.
Yeah, you missed a good time, Dave. We had fun.
I'm sure you did.
We did.
I try to stay away from too much fun.
Well, it was fun in a very
safe way.
Yes. Considering what we were there to support, it was definitely in a very modest way. It was very nice.
Well, that's good. Yeah, no, I heard it was good. Steve, are you worried about trying to get? We have 3 guests here. Pay attention to us, for God's sakes.
No, I was thinking about the that case that we wanted to talk about down
tomorrow?
In Texas. The Texas one.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to get Erica's thoughts on that.
What case is it?
Great idea.
It's very controversial.
You have to give me a heads up because I don't know what you're talking about.
It's not controversial. You know the case. So it's where they were at the track meet in Texas,
yes.
And the African American kid goes into I think it was Frisco, their track tent. Kid who's a football player, track kid.
You stabbed the kid?
Well, no, that kid's Caucasian. He said you have to leave. This is not your tent. You know what are you doing in here? He was from another school. You know, the kid said, "Put your hands on me, see what happens." And then he tries to escort him to leave, and the kid stabs him and kills him.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What's
and they're supporting him.
The stabber.
Yeah. If you
I don't know if Erica knows a ton about the case, just judging by her reaction, but
I figured she'd be outraged because
I've heard about it. I know we talked about it last week. We briefly touched on it, but I didn't know the change of events. I didn't know that is. I'm just reading real quick.
Yeah. I'll give you my unopinionated kind of highlights of it. So basically, what has happened is since the kid's arrest, he has gotten a lawyer and has a GoFundMe where he's raised over $500,000 for his defense, which has basically gone into his pocket, and he was out on bail for $20,000, I think. And then they had a press conference, and his lawyer basically blames the victim, the person who was actually killed, and it's become kind of like a race. It's turned into a racial conflict thing, where at the press conference they asked the father of the victim was killed to leave their press conference, and he was escorted out.
This article that I'm reading, it looks like he was not invited to the press conference and that he just showed up.
Well, anybody can go to a press conference.
Agreed, but that's the
Right,
take.
right. But that's the take. That's 100% the take. So absolutely. So and they're calling him inappropriate, and then so it's a whole bunch of stuff going back and forth. So it's been turned into a racial thing, and basically saying that they've tried to make it like that kid who was killed is the person who tried to cause a problem, and that's why he killed him. Like it was a self-defense thing, which So that's my, without any of my opinion involved in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
my 100% opinion, obviously, which I gave last week, is it's all complete bullshit. Like, why are you bringing a knife to a track meet? What's your intention in going to another person's tent? Mm-hmm. Okay, I ran track. I didn't go into somebody else's tent. Okay, from another team.
Right.
No one was going to be happy, no matter what my race was. If I went into, like, let's say my rival's team, I don't even know if this is a rival or not, but let's say my rival, which I grew up in Saddlebrook, let's say Garfield or Lodi, I went into their tent, they would not be happy with me if I went into their tent. And that would be a conflict. You know what I mean? So you're obviously seeking conflict in this case. Now, it was raining. The argument from the lawyer side is, and it was raining, and blah, blah, blah. But obviously, you have a knife at a track meet. You're not involved in the track meet. You weren't in school that day. You left. You went up to this track. So this is, to me, it's all bullshit. I think it's a clear-cut thing. But what is amazing to me is that is not how a decent amount of people see it. So they see it as the person who killed him is doing self-defense. So
unless that kid came at him, and first of all, can we just dial it back a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
Whatever happened to like a good old fist fight? Like,
I
punch
know.
the kid. Like,
exactly.
If you really got a beef with somebody and you're pissed off and you want to go into his tent and you guys throw some fists. You don't need to shoot knives out.
They didn't even have a beef with him. So he just showed up in their tent. He didn't know them.
So just randomly showed up in
their tent.
And then just the quick kid questioned him and then he stabbed him and says that's self-defense.
Right. And let's on the heavy side.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. The bottom line is no matter what was going on, it doesn't matter if he even pushed him. Okay. Let's say let's go so far as to say pushed him.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Why are you stabbing anybody? Like there's people everywhere. It's a track meet. Like it's, there's nobody there that's in harm's way. Okay. So that's my whole take on it. I think the guy should be put in jail for life.
Yeah, they lowered his bond from $1 million.
Murder. That's what was ridiculous. The judge lowered his bond.
Yeah, they lowered his bond. That's a lot of lowering.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't deserved. And he's getting so much crowd attention for it.
Well, he raised a lot of money. He raised a lot of money. I mean, there's a lot of people that are supporting.
They're getting behind him.
Yes.
And it all goes back to the bail reform crap.
But there's
a lot. In Texas, though. That's the crazy part. So
that's what I said. It's in fucking Texas.
But here's the thing, though. We are living right now in such a divided world. However, whatever side you're on, it is polarized. Exactly. That's a very good description, Dave. That things like this, people are going to latch onto and pull the race card and pull the this card and pull the that card because they can. And the bad guys, and I'm just going to say it because you know how I feel, are winning right now. We have a convict as our president. So you are allowed to
this is
do
nothing
things.
To do with this is
no,
nothing.
But I'm just saying right now that evil is winning. The bad is okay. Rules are not really, you don't really have to follow them, kind of thing. You're not going to get in too much trouble anymore because what standard do we have to hold these people to?
Well, this is a far left thing. So his support is from the far left. It is not from the right.
Yeah, I'm not saying support. That's why I said sides. we're just talking the person, not sides, not right, left, just based on principle. What standards are we holding people to anymore?
Well, we're definitely not holding a murderer to a standard, obviously in this case,
or a rapist, or a sexually assaulted.
Who's the rapist?
I'm saying, like, in general, you've got like Hegseth, right? He's had how many counts of sexual assault on him? We have the list could go on and on, Dave. It's just, what are we holding the standard to being upstanding citizens now that actually have a punishment for stabbing a other, what is he, 17-year-old, 16, 17? What is he,
17? Yeah. I just think that I don't think this case has nothing to do with anybody else's case. It has to.
You don't think judges now are a little gun shy with all that's going on in the world?
Well, no, because listen, what Hegseth, if he harassed somebody or didn't harass somebody, that's a he said she said thing. This is an actual thing.
Well, no, he has like counts against him, but that's I'm just saying
this is actually witnessed murder we're talking about.
And I'm just saying the standards are lowered in general, and judges, why would that judge on any other time lower it from $1 million to 250? Judges are gun shy right now for everything. They're getting stuff thrown out of court. Nobody's listening to judges anymore. It's like this whole trend is going on right now, because from a high level government side, we're not listening to the Supreme Court. We're not listening to the circuit judges. We're not, who the hell cares? Let everybody freaking kill whoever the hell they want is pretty much where we're at.
This is even crazier. A New Mexico judge resigned from the bench after an alleged Tren de Ariagua gang member was arrested at his home. The judge, magistrate Joel Cano's resignation letter was dated on March 3rd, but a spokesman told Fox it was not received until the 31st. They investigated this Venezuelan native named Ortega Lopez, an illegal alien from Venezuela, and a suspected member of a criminal gang who was residing with other illegal aliens and in possession of firearms. 2 search warrants were executed at a home investigation identified by his wife, and Ortega Lopez and his roommates were taken into custody, and the agents seized the firearms. And Cano is April Cano is the daughter of Nancy and Joel. The court document said Ortega Lopez was found. He was posing with the weapons on social media. He illegally entered from Mexico on December 23rd. And he continued. He just did a few jobs. He got evicted from his apartment, and he made his first appearance in court in front of the magistrate and asked if she knew Judge Cano. And what happened was, basically, she said she didn't know the judge, and she said she met him outside the courtroom a couple times, and said, I don't think anybody would just let him live at the property. He wasn't a flight risk, and they ordered him to be released.
The judge was housing
this. He was released on his own recognizance. And,
so I don't understand. Explain to me what's going on.
Yeah.
So
this guy, he was arrested as an illegal alien.
He was housing this person?
Yeah, he said he didn't know him. Yes, and he was an illegal alien. He was charged with having weapons. They had a search warrant. And
wait, I'm saying, but the judge stepped down because he was what? Because he was housing the illegal alien?
Because they lied about knowing him, and he didn't step up and say that he knew them.
Because they should have been deported, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't have been released on their own recognizance.
Got it. Okay, yeah.
The judge did that.
Okay, now I understand. Okay, I got it. So he violated ethics, and I got it. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't tell them anything about knowing these people, who were in a gang who had illegal weapons,
Right.
and they
right.
get released on their own recognizance
Well,
after
it's
being
crazy.
arrested and federally charged.
Listen. Overall, last week we had that debate about the guy who, because I didn't know that much about the case at the time, about the guy who was at the time was thought to be illegally deported.
The El Salvadorian guy.
But it turns out he's a MS-13 gang member.
Yeah, he's a gang member.
Well, that's alleged.
I want to get Erica's take now that we know that he is a gang. Because I'll give myself a pat on the back of this. I was conservative about it because I didn't know enough about at the time. I didn't know enough about the whole entire deportation. I think my stance was basically, if he was actually illegally deported, then he shouldn't have been illegally deported. If he was a migrant and was, no matter whether he was a criminal or not, they deported him. They have the right to do that. But if he was obviously a criminal, obviously should have been deported. As it turns out, he's an MS-13 gang member. Now, the left
alleged. He is not.
No doubt he's an MS-13 gang member. No doubt. Did you see the interview with his wife said no? Where they're like, he was twice arrested for abuse, and she was like, did this happen? She's like,
I'm an alleged donkey, Erica.
What?
I'm an alleged donkey.
You're alleged.
Yeah, I'm an alleged donkey.
By the way, do you know what a chicken jockey is?
No.
Do you, Erica?
From Minecraft?
Yes. All right, Erica. Good. My son went to see Minecraft, and they're like,
I had to go too. I brought my little guy on Saturday.
They were going chicken jockey, I guess. Yes. In the.
Oh, here he is. There's the man himself, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Larson, I'm giving you a huge hug right now.
Oh, Erica, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Nice.
Of course. Nice. He's got headphones. Man. Look, he's all fired up. He's prepared. So I want to get Larson's opinion on this one.
I was just saying, should I go grab some pictures of Jeff Larson in my kitchen from college wearing an apron? I can. I have it.
Did you hear about?
Listen, Erica, they don't know.
They don't know a lot, and that's okay.
Jeff would know. Did you hear about the guy in Texas who got stabbed? And his the guy who stabbed him ended up getting his bail reduced, and he ended up being released. And he's got a whole
high school kid case. The high school track meet. I don't know if he knows.
Yeah, if you don't know, check it out. Just look it up. It's unbelievable. And this is Texas. He stabbed.
Maybe let me just say more about it, Steve.
Do you want me to? I'll explain it better. Okay. There's a track meet in Frisco, Texas. It's raining. African American kid goes into the tent of Frisco track team. The kid who's like a football player, track athlete, tells him that he is going. That he should leave. This is not. It's not his team. The kid argues with him. The track kid tries to escort him out of the tent. The African American kid stabs him. Killed him. Not just stabbed him though, like stabbed him repeatedly, killed him. Repeatedly. It was a bloodbath.
And then he goes in
front of become a polarizing thing because it's a racial. It's been turned into a racial thing. Even though it's not, but it's been turned into a racial thing, meaning like self-defense. They
said self-defense. That was their argument. It was complete bullshit.
Well, that's going to be their argument going in. Stand your ground. Stand your ground in Texas is going to be. Their argument is going to be stand your ground in Texas. The stand your ground.
You think it's going to be stand your ground?
100% is, yes. It's 100% going to be our. It's going to be there.
I wasn't thinking that at all.
Yeah, because in Texas, I enter your home.
So it's
Okay,
like the George
I'll
Zimmerman
use
case.
if someone enters my home in New Jersey,
Yes, you have the right.
Well,
to
no,
defend
I
it.
can't. No, I cannot.
Oh,
Just
you can.
start. I can't just start popping off. No, I have
Oh,
to actually be like shot at or attempted at for. It's a, and I'm sure
Yeah, I
Connecticut
know-
is
I
probably
know.
similar. North Texas, if I invade your home, okay, you could stand your ground, meaning you could shoot them.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. Like Jeff, are you familiar?
That's not what
with
it's called, though. It's got what is it called? Like when it's like
it stands your ground. Like you remember the George Zimmerman case in Florida?
yeah, absolutely.
George Zimmerman got off because he was allowed to quote unquote stand his ground when he pursued. There was a kid.
And Florida's rules a little different than Texas. Texas is pretty like, you know what I mean? You feel threatened.
It is called stand your ground in Texas.
Yeah, it's the
What's
stand
it
your
called?
ground law.
Stand your
I know
ground.
It's called stand your ground.
to
Yeah.
change it in Florida after George Zimmerman killed that kid, Trayvon Martin. That was the big case
In the black hoodie,
where
right.
he pursued him.
Also,
in his
Larson, it could be the castle doctrine.
Do you remember that where he was?
I remember that
around
case,
and
but I was thinking about like when you enter somebody's home in Texas, but I thought that had a different word than stand your ground. But crazy.
You have
Everything
you have
in
the
this
right
country as far as like
fight
gun
back
violence
and
and everything
pursue.
is crazy.
Yeah, because a few times, like in the case where, like, remember in I don't remember if it was Kentucky. I thought it was maybe it was Texas. I don't know. But remember where there was a case where I thought it was Kentucky, but where they shot up what was her name? The woman's name. But they shot up the home. They thought it was a drug.
Oh, that was Kentucky. That was in Louisville, where they went to the wrong.
She shot at them, and that was okay. That was
search
Kentucky.
warrant.
Yeah, so that was also that like no knock search warrant, right? And where they shot.
Yeah.
They shot. They were claiming that they were
to the
threatened.
wrong
That's why they shot, and then the police obviously shot, and she was killed.
Yeah, none of them got in trouble.
Right. So it was because they were shot. They were shot at. And it was, but their claim originally was like that they were threatened. You know what I'm saying? That was the original claim.
Yeah, they were attacked first.
Right. Right. That was different. So, like in the South, that's a lot. But Texas,
the George Zimmerman case. Yeah, no, because it started to be controversial after the George Zimmerman case when he pursued Trayvon Martin. He called 911 and said there's a suspicious person in my neighborhood. He lived in like this gated community, and they had a neighborhood watch, and he was like the head of it. So he pursued him, and Trayvon Martin turned around and was like, "What are you doing? Why are you following me?" And they got into a fight, and he ended up shooting and killing him, and he got off in court because of the stand your ground law.
Right, I'm looking at it right now. That's exactly what it was. You're right, 100%.
So that's why, like in Texas, like this, I don't see this as stand your ground.
No, that's what they're going to claim. That's what they're going to claim is stand your ground.
Wow. So that's shocking. So yeah, that's what I wanted to get your thought on, Jeffrey. This kid in Texas murders someone, and he gets his bail reduced. And like I think they raised money, they crowdsourced money,
like $450,000
to pay his bail, and he's out now on his own recognizance, and he's getting a ton of support from people in the community. And his attorney gave a press conference, and the victim's mother was there, and they got mad because she was at the press conference saying that she shouldn't have been there.
It was the father. The father was at it. The father.
Oh, it was the father. Yeah. But listen, don't you think it's ridiculous that someone can do that, stab someone, bail reduction, I'm out, just like that?
You know, you guys all know I'm in education, and
you're when
it comes to like violence and guns,
especially you in school.
it's very it's scary and talk about those things. And I just
and you can't bring a weapon on. So one of the key things in any school period. So even though there's
they had metal detectors.
You evade a home, right? That's a different case. On school grounds, you're not allowed to have, and there's no weapons allowed. That's illegal that's a felony right from the get go.
But this was a track meet?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So was it a high school track meet?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a sporting.
So like the sports field is an extension of the class, like of the school. So like, I'm sure. Wow. I mean, it's hard to comment because I don't know the facts, but like I just, just the escalation of violence in our society in general is in at a disproportionate.
Crazy.
It's insane, and I hate talking about it because it's a real thing for our kids that they have to deal with, and you know what I mean, like especially when you don't have all the facts, and like you guys might have the facts. I don't have all the facts when I'm talking about it. I just, for me in my everyday life, I just want my kids at my school, like, to walk through the door and know that they're safe, and that they can go to school and do the things they need to do and feel safe, and that I, as the leader of that building, am able to provide that blanket of security or freedom or of safety for them.
Are you the principal?
He's an assistant principal there. Right?
No, I'm actually principal.
That's right. You got moved. That's right. You're the principal there.
Yep.
And, it's crazy how it goes to that level so fast. Like Erica said, and she's like, "What happened to just getting in a fist fight?"
Well, in this case, I feel like this is the controversy of it. In this case, it seems, obviously we don't know all the facts yet, but it seems like he was there to cause trouble. Okay, that it seems like this was something that was, he wasn't in school that day. He came to the track,
right.
Looking to get into something. Maybe who knows what was going on with them on that day.
I would ask the coach, right? I mean, every coach knows or should know when their athletes aren't in school, they're not supposed to be at an event. So the coach should have been like,
I don't even know if he's on the track team. I don't even think he's on the track team, the kid.
Oh, well, then
that's right.
I'm gonna look that up real quick because I'm not 100% sure.
That's a fair point too. Erica is accountability, right? But like, you think about track, like you have some schools that have these huge populations of kids.
Yeah.
40, 60 kids, and you're out. And track is the worst example, just in that, because you think about how many events are in a track meet, right? Mm-hmm. And like, your coaches oftentimes are made to go be the judge. Like, you got to go judge the long jump. You got the height, like talk to Laban about it. Like, he'll tell you in a second.
He was not on a track team. He was not on any track team. So he appeared at this track meet. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
So
and then it comes down to like crazy security, right? Like, how does that kid get into the event? How was he there? There's so many factors. It's just.
Do you have metal detectors at your school, Jeff?
I do not, but like
okay.
the state of Florida has really ramped up, like, it's, especially from like Parkland, like all of its security measures and the different things that it does, where like you can't, like, every door, like, without giving the game plan away, like every door is secure, even at athletic events. Like, if you have a gate that's unlocked, it has to be manned. That's how over the top. And like, we have Safer Schools comes and does visits to just drop by. Like, you don't know they're coming. They come and they check all of your classrooms, all of your gates.
Oh, wow.
And like, but it's also like, you say, oh, wow, Steve. But like, for me, I
love it.
No,
awesome. I think that's great.
I think it's awesome. And
you need that security. Yeah,
I would think, I think, and people would disagree or agree with me on this, is up north in Connecticut, like at the school that I was at before I moved down to Florida, we had security guards, like, that would like man the gate as people would come in and check their license and ID and all that stuff.
Well, you were at a tough school early on.
Yeah.
The Hartford school.
And like, but even there, like, the security guards, whether a police officer should have a gun in school is a whole nother topic. But I love the fact that at least in my district in Florida that we have SROs, school resource officers.
We have them in Orange, Jeff.
And they're just, but like that's where they should be, is like bridging that gap between our youth and our students to say, hey, we're the police and we're working with you. Like we're a team and like we're a community and we build together. And that's how they first get that sense of accomplishment, or accomplishment is the wrong word, but like, hey, police aren't necessarily bad, right? They're here for good and they're here to protect. And so I like that part of our schools, is having the SROs in the building. And then, they do, for me in my school, they do a perimeter check every day, like every period, like they're always constantly, and teachers, it's a new state law in Florida. Like teachers can get in real trouble if they willfully leave their doors unlocked and unsecured. It's that serious, but that's what they want. And I like that, is they want to say, hey, this is serious. This is what we need you to do. And thankfully, teachers, I think most teachers are just like, yes, I'll secure, I'll do whatever you tell me to do as far as safety. And I love that. So,
the crazy thing that I see with all of it, we were in England and France 2 summers ago, and my brother-in-law is from England and his whole family lives on the North Sea in a little town called Whitstable is where his sister lives. And they've got 2 kids. So they were asking us, like, what's it like to send your kids to school with all those shootings? And what's that like? And I'm like, it's frightening. It's terrible. She goes, you know what we have to worry about? I was like, no, what, Kate? She's like, we have to worry about our kids touching the high voltage train tracks. That's the only thing that they teach their kids, is be safe around the train tracks because of their high voltage. And literally it says, like, they could light you up like no other. But she goes, for me, that's what I worry about, my kids playing by the train tracks. You have to worry about sending your kids to school. And that to me is such a cultural craziness that should not be, right? It's like we all send our kids to school. We all expect them to be safe. It is this United States of America epidemic, cultural, sick, twisted way that we have to think about sending our kids to school. You as an administrator, my father-in-law is a retired superintendent. Do you think when he was practicing as a superintendent was worried about, people shooting up the schools back in the 80s and 90s? No, they were afraid of an occasional bomb scare. Like the things that have changed and like from country to country, it's just mind blowing to me. It's mind blowing.
And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. Like if you look at the statistics around the world about violence with schools, there's nobody even close.
No.
And it's and we tout and we talk about all the freedoms and greatness of America, and it's it's crazy to me for as many smart people that there are at different levels that we can't get this right and can't figure it out. And
people are just so stuck on that Second Amendment. And you go to other countries and like you go to England, you're not worried about getting shot. Police officers don't even have guns. There's only certain police grades that have guns in England and in Europe. Like lay people just don't. Sure, you could probably find one on the black market if you really tried, but it's not like I could go down to New Haven right now and I'm sure I could find a gun from somebody.
Well, wherever you want, New Haven.
Yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure I could. But at the same time, it's just so warped that everybody is like, I see the meme all the time. Like your guns are more important than our kids. And listen, my grandfather was in the military. We had guns in the house. We were taught how to respect them. We were taught how to clean them. We were taught how to, when we were young, my grandfather would sit us down and show us how to do it. But now it's like, it gets me all fired up. My blood pressure's going up. All right, let's change topics.
Well, from a gun standpoint, the issue is, in a lot of, this one case here is a stabbing. It's a completely different situation than school shootings. So it happens to be that it's at a school, but it's definitely in a track meet is going to be a very, very much less policed environment than the school is, right? So
And districts can vary from district. Like where my kids go to high school, we don't have metal detectors. We have SROs and we have all of that. But if you go into New Haven, any basketball game, when I went to go watch my son, I had to put my purse through. I had to go through. They have guards at the door. It's a totally different areas have different rules.
Sport-wise, sports is different than like a general school. You do have you really obviously the SROs and whatever security protocols you have. Okay, whether it's a public school or private school, there's a set of protocols that you have. Okay, for what is not as prevalent, and this is like one of the first instances of this. Is like, hey, we're at a track. I mean, you think about a track meet. I mean, you talked about it earlier. It's wide open. You know, people come in, they run their race, they go out back into the where the cars are parked. They come back in, they go back out. Like people aren't really watching it. You know what I mean? A lot of times, things like a track meet, people aren't even charged. It's not like even a basketball game or a football game where there's one gate you go in, right?
Right, and you're charging for it.
And you're charging people, right? You have maybe a little more control there. But definitely like the track meet or some of these other sports that are not as like, you know, you're not taking tickets for, that's definitely an unusual instance of something happening. And it begs and this wasn't a shooting, but it was more of like a target. This seems like a premeditated, I was going to cause trouble, reciprocated. Who knows what was going on? But I think the bigger issue, besides weapons, is that the people that are disturbed mentally are able to get their hands on things that they shouldn't get their hands on, which is different than obviously rational people who have a gun license or as a license for a weapon. But these are instances in a lot of cases are either people who are getting their hands on it that have some sort of emotional or mental disturbance. And most of the times it's something where they shouldn't have a possession of that. And most times it's either illegal, but when they attained it in the home legally, it wasn't, there wasn't their own individual protections of it. So there wasn't a situation where this person who was disturbed didn't have access to it. And I think there should be a level of accountability in those instances as well for people who do own weapons, and there's someone that has a disturbance in the family that has access to that. There's an issue. Now, this case, the track meet is a totally, it's not a school shootings like I'm taking people out for whatever reason. I'm emotionally or mentally disturbed. There's something going on. This seems like more of a premeditated, I'm going to try and engage somebody to then fight me and then I can kill them, which I don't know. I mean, there's disturbance obviously associated with it, but it's a little different in the sense that it's not like a mass shooting thing. It was like a targeted kind of thing.
It's that kid going after that person or that, right?
But or like, that group or whatever, right?
And with all due respect, Coach, I think what you're streaming is, or what you're talking about is obviously a huge issue, right? Of mental health, right? But I also think, again, no offense, that I think we get clouded in saying, you know what, it's mental health and we got to address the mental health. Yes, we do. Absolutely, 100%. But guess what? There's mental health issues across this world of ours, right? And they still don't have the issues that they're having with our weapons. And I part of me comes to Florida to get away from all the political nonsense and left, right, all that stuff, especially, being in public schools. But
right.
When does it, and I don't want to sound like a politician when I say
it's in your blood, Larson.
But when does it stop? Like when do we say, hey, a kid getting stabbed at a track meet, a kid at Florida State, and I don't know the details of it, but like I don't want to talk about it because I don't know it, but like when is enough to just say
I say the same thing.
Like, hey,
not when there's money involved.
We got to change, and it's got to be a big change. Like I think it was President Biden was talking about oh, he had the most significant, gun legislation in 40 years, right? Whatever it was, right? And I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was this big piece, right? But like, what did it do? What did it actually change? And like, until we as a society say, you know what? Political party aside, political belief aside, this right is right. And like, we need to, say, as a society, we need to protect our kids. Like you want to talk about, like, I don't sleep as it is, but like that stuff keeps me up at night. Like, because our kids come into school with all sorts of trauma and different things. And, it's one of the reasons why, for me, it's important as a principal of the school that I greet every kid as they come in through the door. I want to give them a fist bump. I'm going to say, hey, man, how you doing? Good morning. You doing okay? What's going on? And I can tell when a kid is off or a kid is having a bad, I can see that right then and there. Like we like, I'm not saying it's 100% proof, but like I want to be able to, that's my first social emotional check-in with those kids to say, hey man, I'm here for you. I'm going to be here every day. You're going to see me and I'm going to check in. And are you okay? Grade aside, behavior aside, I'm here. I love you. And I'm going to take you in, but like, are you okay? Are you ready to rock? And so like, until as a society, we say, you know what? We stop with the debate of, Second Amendment. We stop it with, nobody's saying you can't have your arms, but guess what? You know what? We as a country, we got to say, you know what? We're not allowing it until we can get this under control. When we get this under control, then there's a.
Well, we're not allowing what though? What do you,
right, and but that's it,
magazines and crazy.
But that's exactly it. That's exactly it, Coach. Is what you're saying. Is that's what happens? Is right there. Is we get in this debate of. What are you talking about? What is it? What aren't you allowing? What can you have?
If you're not going to allow, all right, let's use your example. So you're not going to allow weapons. Period. Only police can have some sort of a weapon.
Military police, right? Or
right.
you just making an extensive process, right?
Let's use that argument.
Yeah.
So, if only military police and nobody can have their own weapon, what if someone gets an illegal weapon? Someone gets an illegal weapon, enters my house. I mean, listen, I have guns. If someone and I have, of course I do.
How often does that happen in a place like?
I didn't know that.
People aren't going into everybody's house on a daily basis.
I'll use a good example. So I'll use George Floyd as a good example. Okay, during George Floyd. That was a very volatile time, okay? And I'll use my town as an example. So the town that I actually live in a pretty big town. It's like 90,000. So that's like it's not a huge city, but it's a big town. There's different sections of the town. Like the way they're broken up, like they've broken it up into neighborhoods. Well, during the whole George Floyd thing, there was a group that petitioned they were going to have a march in our town, and it ended up getting squashed, and they didn't allow them to march. But in a lot of the marches nearby, in some of the areas, those areas turn troublesome. So if someone takes a turn down my street and comes to my house, then there's going to be a problem, right? And so now that didn't happen, but as a citizen of America, that is my right to be able to protect my family and my home. Now, I 100% think there's a huge issue within the school, okay, as far as being targeted. Like, why do these things happen so much at the school area? To me, is a huge question. Like
or the grocery store, or the movie theater,
schools in particular. Yes, there's been a case. There's cases. There's cases with you can pull up videos, World Star Hip Hop, where people are running through robbing without any weapons, just going into stores and robbing stores and malls and running. I mean,
Coach, can I tell you why I think it's happening there?
in schools, you mean schools?
But like, yeah, in schools is because kids get painted into corners with social media. And unlike us, when we grew up, right, if me and Cully had a problem in high school, that'd be the worst day of Cully's life. No, I'd be in big trouble.
Right.
Great Collini, right? But the
yes,
but like we would have it out. If we had a problem, we would fight and it'd be over.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Never to be seen again. These kids get things put on social media via video
relentlessly,
and it's replayed and replayed and replayed, and their trauma, their worst day they've ever had in their entire life. Think about that. Your worst day, worst decision you ever made, and it gets replayed over and over again. And it's not even that. It's not even the videos. It's their words, because they can sit behind a keyboard or a cell phone.
Group chat. They can be in group chats and torture
and they
each
can
other.
type the most hateful and hurtful stuff, and then they're faced with it. They're in front of it right in school, and they don't know how they're going to react. So they want to have something that says, you know what? Take the next step because I have this, right? And I feel like when they get painted in the corner, that's when this stuff happens. And it's not the only case, and it's not the only issue with it. But like,
that's definitely.
I don't know.
There's no doubt that's an issue. Like, for example, yesterday we were watching a movie, Back to School. You remember that movie with Rodney Dangerfield? Yeah. Great movie, right? But when you watch that movie, and you watch the movie, and a lot of those movies from the 80s, right? You had the bully, right?
Yep.
And you had the person who was trying to overcome the bully. It was kind of picked on. And it was kind of like, it was laughed about, but it was addressed, like you said, much more in a like physical confrontation manner, or a manner that was not, there was no threat that it was going to escalate into a completely end game scenario. You know what I mean? Where someone's going to, you never got that like feeling, even from as bad as the bullies were, you didn't get it from the bully side either. Like it was, they fought back against the bully, blah, blah, blah. You move that forward 40 years, like everything that the kids watch are either, look, our video games are very violent. Obviously, even the PG related movies have undertones and things. Some of these things are overall issues, but in general, there may be something. I don't know, because I'm not in any other country, so I don't know. There's different issues in every country, right? There are different types of issues in each country. This doesn't happen to be a big issue in a lot of countries. It happens to be a big issue in our country, and a lot of it maybe has to do with the fact that social media and some of the things are related to social media.
They have social media in England.
Everybody has social media, but I'm saying there are different levels of usage in America versus other countries. Okay, China has a huge amount of social media, but it's controlled by the state. So the state is allowing this or that, and it's a communist environment. What we have is a lot more of a situation where it's unregulated from the parents. Kids are utilizing things unregulated. Both parents are working. Both parents aren't always watching everything. And then you do have kids that have things that are going on that they definitely take it out in other areas that are not in the same ways that it might have been taken out in before. And I mean, look, I think that and you could speak to this a lot better than I could. But as a coach, when I was a coach for 20 years, we had strict no bullying policies. The schools had strict no bullying policies. Anytime there was an issue, we immediately addressed it. Those things were already in place, but it didn't stop it didn't stop the fact that people would try. Okay. Now, when I was in high school, there really was no things about hate. You could haze people, and there was bullying and things that went on. Okay. But you didn't have these escalating issues that you have now, Whereas now you do have, like, I'm sure you have unbelievable, hey, if someone's bullying you, you report to bullying. It's open for people to feel comfortable to report it if there's bullying going on. There's no repercussions for people if they report it, right? So these are all important things, but it still seems to be an overall escalating issue where it wasn't an issue 40 years ago. And I could just tell you that there were obviously guns 40 years ago. There are guns now. There are other things in play beyond guns that are causing it. That is maybe unique to America. I don't know.
The caliber of guns, Dave. We don't need high.
You have a guy stabbing someone and kill someone with a knife.
Right, but you're not killing 50 people in one shot with an AR, whatever. I don't even know anything about guns. All I know is that you don't need guns like that in the civilian world. Like, you're not going to go hunting for a deer because you're going to blow the thing up if you shoot it. Like, that is not necessary. Those guns should be just for the military. Like, civilians should not have access to guns like that. That's what's doing these mass shootings. That's when my friend's nephew, who was killed in Sandy Hook, and I went to that wake, and I'm devastated that I still have to have that vision in my mind of a little boy in a casket. That is literally what killed all of those people. Whereas a gun like that, you can have a gun, have a shotgun, go for it, have a party, but you do not need to have guns like that on the market for people to buy in the United States of America or anywhere other than the military.
Which maybe, Coach, answers your question, right? Like, of like your right to protect your family. Like, if you have the handgun, like, do you feel okay with that? Like it's enough to, and I'm not speaking for you, but I'm saying, like, is that a way that as a country we could move forward? Right.
I can tell you, for like what might be, for me, what I need is probably a lot less than there are other people that protect with much more. I've seen some of the things that other people have. And some people have not just one AR, they have like 20. Okay. I don't know what they need an arsenal for. I'm very pro gun, but when I look at it as a person who's pro gun, I look at it and I say, they're fighting, and they're not going to be able to shoot all those guns at the same time, right? So, I mean, what do they need 20 ARs for?
If you're a good shot, you need one bullet. Like, that's it. You don't need.
Yeah, but the flip argument. Look, everything in respect to Second Amendment, when you're whatever side you're on, okay, in that argument, ultimately, when you start to get into certain levels of gun laws, right? I'm not talking about gun laws like whether someone should have a gun or they shouldn't have a gun. I think most people agree that they're probably, and I don't know, all the sanity checks on everything, but as far as most people agree that obviously we should have an ID, we should have, there's certain things you should have before you have a gun, right? Okay, but when you start to get to levels of stuff, everything, when you think about everything, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I have my beliefs, but I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. Everything comes back to, if someone takes power, and I'm not talking about the government, because if the government wants to go and roll over power, if you right away, they could obviously do anything they could to obliterate any one of us, right? But it all comes back to the original. The thing to be able to right to bear arms and to be able to protect yourself in a situation where someone has an instance where they have control over you. Now, the argument on the side of like anti-gun a lot of times is like, well, if the government wants to come in and declare martial law and obviously take all of us out, we're pretty useless against that battle. 100% in most cases, yeah, right? But the argument always is, well, if XYZ, these 5 people escape into the mountains, right? And they're still around, and so you get into this all the way back to 1776 and the opportunity to be able to bear arms, to be able to against someone forcing power on you, whether it's locally, nationally, state, whatever it is, and your ability to protect and stand ground. Now, in most of those cases, no matter what, the Revolutionary War we won, right? But in most of those cases, most people throughout history lose in those battles. But it's more to be able to fight that battle than it is whether you win or lose. And that's if you're going to get like when you get into the ultimate battle, which is why the Second Amendment probably rarely gets moved. You know, like you talked about with Biden, like why it rarely gets moved to certain things. When you strip away everything, you strip away money and all that kind of stuff. That's the fundamental when you get into the two-sided argument where you get into the battle of it. And if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but that's really where it starts to get into the loggerhead where one side pushes this way, the other side pushes this way, and you get into a stalemate, which is why it's going to be, you know, you might have some laws that move a little bit, you know, state to state that move one way or the other, but as far as, you know, across the country.
I wanted to mention another thing that came up that Erica had talked about. The Department of Education is now collecting student loans again. They had put it on hold because of COVID, and now the Trump administration has reinstated it.
I should be pouring myself alcohol right now, Steve, to have this.
Well, you talk about the Department of Education.
I know.
And now they're resuming the student loan collection, which has been off for several years. That's a huge deal.
Listen, here's the deal with student loans. I had student loans. I had to pay them off. I'm sure others, other than you scholarship people, Steve Cully, I know Jeff.
I have them from grad school, so
okay.
So even though I was scholarship in football,
we all had our loans, and
Jeff Larson was never on scholarship. Just saying.
No,
Jeff
takes
everything. The man, the myth, and the legend. But that, and I have lots of good stories about Jeff Larson. But that being said, I believe that kids need accountability. And my oldest son is going to be going to college in a year and a few months. And we are making him take out a loan so that he has financial responsibility when he comes out of college to know that he has something that he needs to pay. Now, it's not going to be millions of dollars, but it's going to be some type of financial responsibility. For me, I don't see any problem with people being able to pay back their financial loans. They got a reprieve. I think that that's okay. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I do think they need to have a grace period to like ease people back into it because they hadn't been paying it for, what are we on, year 5 now with COVID?
Yeah.
But I mean, that just seems to be like a financial, fiscally responsible thing to do that you need.
It teaches a good lesson, I believe.
I mean, sure. Would I have loved for my parents to have paid for my college education so I didn't have debt coming out? Sure. But at the same time, I learned very quickly that I needed to get a job. Many of them.
I tell you, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Erica.
No.
I was 38 years old when I finally paid off my college loans, and that's even with the Army's help.
Yeah, help.
And there's different states though, like in Florida, they have what they call Bright Futures for kids. It's a phenomenal. It's one of the reasons we moved down here is because we took what it would cost to like send. So Erica, I'm a little jealous. My oldest of 3 is 10. And I have 2 more after that. So like I got a little bit more ways than you do. But they also have what they call Florida prepay. And you can pay it's about $20,000 per child, and it's discounted as you have more kids. But if you pay it and you can pay it off in so many years, your kids can go to state school in Florida for free.
Right.
Wow.
And Bright Futures, if a kid earns a certain GPA, has a certain SAT score, does community services, a whole bunch of things that you check boxes, they get like per GPA, per SAT score, you know, they get 3/4 of their tuition paid. They get full ride. Like it's actually pretty cool because it incentivizes academics and doing well in school. And like we factored that in when we moved because we're like in Connecticut, like if for my kid to go to, 4 years at UConn and, listen, like, you know how much I love UConn. UConn gave me everything. Like it was an easy $300,000, in 4 years. Right. And what happens grad school and everything like that. And here we could do it, for a $75,000 investment. I could send all my kids to school, at least for like their undergrad for free. And
That's
if they
incredible.
did what they needed to do in school, maybe they even get a check back, which I was like, okay, let's go. Let's do this.
Let's hope they don't cut that funding, Jeff.
That's incredible, by the way. I didn't know that.
Cut that funding.
I'm packing up my bags and moving to Florida. That's incredible. That's an incredible program. That's
a DeSantis
program. The loan thing is, to me, is like a little bit of a. I see both sides in this. Meaning, like I think the loan programs allowed the schools in the long run to charge a lot more for tuition, and in a lot of cases take advantage of the students. So this might be Steve. You might want to mark this down. This might be my one left take.
Oh, you got one.
Yeah.
We're gonna like bow down to David.
Yes, this might be my one. But I do see, like, to me, yes, I you took the loans out. Yes, I get it. You knew what you were doing. You took money that wasn't. But I do think that it allowed the schools, over a very short period of time, to really up the tuition rates, whereupon then people are taking larger loan amounts that the schools are making money from, and the degrees that some of these kids are getting for some of the loans they're taking out for are not putting them in a position to be able to get a job. And coupled with the fact that a lot of jobs are going to change dramatically because of technology, a lot of students are put in a difficult position, young people now, much more than ever. So people from maybe my era, like, I would say that within 10 years, more like your era, 10 years after, from when I was in school, I really think that it started to change, and the fees and the costs associated with going to school rose so greatly that now what people originally were taking out the loans for, the intentions of it changed, and the costs were so high. So yes, I get it. They got to pay. But basically what's going to happen for a lot of people, unless they really have a job that they're in a good position and they can pay off the loans and are fiscally pretty good with their money, they're gonna be paying those loans till they're 60 years old, a lot of these people. So that's the unfortunate truth of a lot of it, with the escalating costs of it. And I think what the program that you talk about, with that Florida has, and I'm sure there are other states that have adopted stuff similar, and if not, they will. But the being able to create incentives to not take as great a loans and to be able to pay off those things earlier, and to help the next generation with what, some of the things that the programs like you said, Florida has. But I think there has to be a solution there, because some of the stuff, like, I thought the solutions, I thought when Biden forgave some of the loans for some of the educators, I did not. I thought that that was not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I mean, those people are teaching the next generation of people, whether it's principals or teachers or some form of education. I didn't think that some level of forgiveness in that case. I thought that was probably the right time to do some of those things.
It was the same with nursing. They did it for nursing.
Right. I think that those things are a good idea. Were a good idea at the time. Obviously, it's pretty hard to forgive all these loans because obviously there's financial ramifications in all directions. But it has put some people in really bad position. And I think that the programs like what you're talking about in Florida, I think more states have to learn to figure out solutions for the future that can help students so they don't get in the future the same amount of debt that maybe some of the people in the past have. I don't know if you could do a ton about about what the people in the past did, but you can certainly do things so it doesn't continue in the future.
Yeah, no, it's crazy too, because I wanted you, Dave, to tell Jeff about the situation in Connecticut with the grant money.
Oh, about what was
the $12 million
that was taken back?
That's unbelievable.
So there was $12 million. I just saw it today because I get the current, and this is a blurb. I didn't read
it for the current.
No, I don't. I get the.
Oh,
They're trying to get me subscribed for $1 a month.
yeah.
So they send me the blurbs like I get them every day. You know what I mean? So that's how I knew about the transfers and football and stuff. But this one was like, I guess, $12 million of unused grant money, unused money that was given to Yale and UConn
Yeah.
for DEI initiatives, unused, went back to, I guess, the federal government.
The state took it back.
Yeah. Yes, it was unused money that was basically sitting there. I don't know what the
I don't know
plan
how it's
for it.
unused. We
I
have
don't know.
we have
I don't know the details because I didn't read the article because I can only read so much without paying. So I only read like 2 paragraphs.
but I mean we have Phil Hunt in the president's office. We got Kevin Freeman running the National Sea Club. We got a lot of
I think it has to do with the programs and maybe professors. I'm not sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's
I'm trying to find it, Dave. I don't see anything.
It just came into my thing today. I'll
Yale too.
I'll read it to you. Hold on.
Which is tough to believe.
I'll pull up my Gmail. Listen, if the Hartford Current wasn't trying so hard to get my $1 per month, I wouldn't know.
No, here it is. It just
you got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Unspent grant money terminated. That's what it was. That was the headline.
Unspent grant funding for $12.4 million terminated at 2 universities. A range of departments are hit.
That's huge. That's
but I can't read the article because
I can't. So I, with all due respect, I don't know the fine details. I can only read like a paragraph and a half. So I don't know the. But it had something to do with DEI initiatives that were not used, but I don't know the details.
Yeah, that's the only article though on it, so it hasn't like hit mainstream news yet.
I don't know if that's going on around the country or not. I have no idea.
So who knows how true it is?
Yeah,
literally is the only article on it.
Well, it's the current. I mean, unless
I found something else on it. It says the grant terminations came after President Trump signed the executive order to terminate DEI and environmental justice offices and positions. Of the 19 grants terminated in Connecticut, 17 were designated to Yale and 2 to UConn. The Yale School of Medicine received more than $598 million in NIH funding. I don't know what NIH means. The canceled grants were originally for more than $42 million combined. Slightly more than 11 was unspent when the awards were terminated. At UConn, the grants totaled $1.7 million.
NIH is National Institute of Health.
With $1 million left unspent when they were terminated. And wow, they tracked it across the entire year.
People have budgeted money, so these DEI programs, they probably didn't spend all of the money in one swoop.
Well, they said most of the research cut for both schools were of research projects that dealt with mental health of LB.
So it's like $2 million to like a unified protocol to address sexual minorities.
Yeah, it was for mental health for LGBTQ people.
And then it's all like studies and stuff.
Yes, a lot of them were research projects.
I mean, I don't even understand that. I mean, this is above my pay grade as far as what because the titles here are so like RADX, Rad Discoveries and Data Consortium Coordination Center Program Organization. Got
some were. It says here.
I don't even know what that is.
Internal medicine, public health, preventative medicine, psychiatry, pediatrics, emergency medicine, social sciences, and
even spent on it. It didn't even use it, right? Malaysia.
They didn't use it. They didn't use the money.
Science training program in HIV.
But what I was saying is it might be budgeted money that you're not spending all of those millions in one
That's why they took
not
it
writing
back.
a check today.
Okay.
Yeah, but also think about like
right.
Think about like salaries and like insurance and stuff like that. That stuff we just went through my school budget. Like it goes like that. And then like you're talking about like, and I'm not talking about $12 million. That's a lot of money. I'm just saying like what Erica's saying is like, was it smartly allocated for years to come to make sure that you could secure and keep that going?
I think you're probably right. It was for the studies they were planning on doing. But Jeffrey, when do you guys plan your budget for the next fiscal year? Like for
it's a huge process. Steve.
It is
really. We actually just went through it because in Pinellas County, I think we're now the 9th. We used to be the 6th. But we're now the 9th largest county in Florida, and so our population is declining. Not because it's not a great place to be, but because there's nowhere else to go. It's like it's been developed, and so we have the process of looking at your enrollment, and you have to staff your school based on the amount of kids that you have. Like you have to be staffed for those kids, and so you go through a tough process of saying, okay, well, here you are right now. This is what your enrollment is. What are you projected to be at next year, right? And at least my county is phenomenal as far as like projecting and data. Like you can say, okay, well, listen, here's your 12th grade class, and here's your kindergarten class. Like there's a discrepancy here. Like when your 12th grade class, and I'll just use an arbitrary number, is 10,000, and your incoming kindergarten is 7,000, right? That's 3,000 less kids. Right.
Wow.
It's just, and I'm not saying that's the number, but just like think about that. Like those kids are coming through, and like when they get there, like you can't, like it's not fiscally responsible to carry the same amount, and so you have to do that in a just and really systematic way. And you would think like you'd say, oh well, it's charter schools or magnets or the same amount of kids have been pulled for those. Like you could see it over a 10-year pattern. That hasn't changed. That number stayed constant. It's just our actual population is because there's no new like development or housing places for parents to move to, and it's also they're getting priced out. Like it's too expensive to live in a lot of different places.
I know the cost of living is crazy.
That used to be the thing, right? Like used to be the thing of why you go to Florida, right? Is because the cost of living is less, and you don't have income tax, and you don't have, and a lot of those things are true still. But it's also like if you think about like teachers and like if you're just graduating college and you're thinking of starting a family and getting involved, like
you need a place to go.
You got to have that stability, and is the income that you're bringing in going to match what you need to be able to live comfortably? And so there's a lot of different places
the cost of living. Right. And Dave, this happened also at Harvard. Harvard had over billions of dollars in frozen grants, and people in stores, students and professors protested this afternoon because of UConn.
All right.
Because UConn lost the federal funding. But Harvard and Columbia and the elite education institutions got hit the hardest. The administration had said their actions are part of an effort to combat anti-Semitism on campus and enforce anti-discrimination laws. And they gave Harvard a list of demands. Includes changes to admissions policies and institution of hiring changes to promote viewpoint diversity. All you have to do, the president is asking, is don't break federal law, and you can have federal funding.
Well, that's
but Harvard's been hit the hardest. But UConn didn't get the type of demands, and
the Ivy Leagues the Ivy Leagues are the biggest part of the target because of the anti-Semitism that was going on campus.
Well, at Columbia especially, right?
Columbia was among the big Columbia, Harvard, and I think Penn were among the biggest. I don't know how big it was at Yale or not, but
Jeff, in your school, is your school pretty diverse?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Because I believe somebody, I think it was Erica, who said, or I looked it up. The schools that, oh no, it was Bellamy who told me this. He said schools and businesses that have the most diversity are the most successful. There was a study done by it because his business went through it too. So that's why I was just curious.
No, I think there's a lot of truth to that. Like,
yeah,
you're not going to your next venture in life and completely shocked because you haven't experienced something before. You know what I mean? You're prepared. You've seen it all, kind of.
I will say though, with this,
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Kelly, there's a delay.
Can you restate that statement again?
No, go ahead.
Can you restate that statement that you said?
Who, me?
Yeah, what was you said? You said school. What did he say? Schools that are what?
Diverse.
He said that schools are
diverse ethnically.
Bellamy said there was a study done, and schools and businesses that had the most diversity were more successful than ones that did not. They were just like all white or whatever. Said the more diversity that you have, the more successful you are. This study showed that.
I can see that.
And yeah, because he said his company made an effort to do that, and he said that the study, the diversity, actually benefits Caucasian white women more than anyone.
That's in
the workforce.
Steve, I think I fall back to like with that making sense would be like the military, right? The Army, like and a little bit of experience there, but like you don't choose who your battle buddies are.
Right.
Like you show up and those are your people that you got, and you go and you roll with. And so I try not to ever disagree with Chris Bellamy, but because he's such a good dude. But like that, to me, that makes sense. Like, but it doesn't say that like somebody can't be successful the other route. But I do, that like as far as like preparedness and like a kid that comes from my school that has interacted with every socioeconomic level, every race, every religion, every seen it all. You walk into a college campus, you walk to a job, and you see that, and you're like, okay, yeah, no big deal. I've seen this. Let's go.
Can work with anyone because the more diversity you have, you obviously show that you can interact and get along with people of all races and colors and creeds, right? Because I think that's very important.
Absolutely.
And that's good that you have that at your school. Is your school pretty balanced, would you say? Or like what would you say the breakdown is of the race?
I'd say, and I'm probably getting in trouble for not knowing it more succinctly, but I would
say
and you don't know probably like we're probably like 30 20 like
oh wow, that is good.
Hispanic, black, white, and other but like we're right there, like we're definitely a melting pot. We're very diverse.
That's great. Erica, what is the school your kids go to like?
Very, very diverse, and everybody thinks.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, Orange, Connecticut. Everybody thinks it's like, upper middle class white people, but it is a lot of Asian, a lot of biracial, a lot of Hispanic because it's close to New Haven, and there's a lot of professors and people that come from all over the world, and Orange schools are good, so people come here, and then our high school is 3 towns mixed together.
Right.
One of them is a very small farming town. The majority are like white people. And then Woodbridge is very Jewish. Just seems to be we've got I think there's 2 synagogues in Woodbridge and we have 3 in Orange. Yes, it's very, 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 very diverse. Very diverse, which I'm very happy. My kids treat everybody the same. Doesn't matter.
Dave, is your kid's school diverse? I know he's only 9.
Racially?
Yeah. I know he's only 9. But...
Or culturally. It doesn't have to be racial. It could be.
Well, that's why I asked what diversity means, because, like, if I were to go through my son's school as far as racially is, I mean, I don't know what kids are, what the population percentage is Hispanic, but as I was to say, and there's some, I mean, there are kids of different races and nationalities, but I would say it's at least, just judging from, this is my raw looking at it when I come in there, I would say it's at least 80% Caucasian.
Oh, okay. So he's still in an elementary school, but
yeah, the town that we're in is probably 70% Caucasian, I would say.
Okay, so that when he gets to high school, the district will be primarily Caucasian.
If he goes to Catholic school. So if he went to Catholic school, then he would probably. I mean, depending on the school he goes to, I would say just demographically around where it is, it's probably mostly going to be somewhere between 70 to 80% Caucasian.
Got you. Okay.
I think more of a determining factor is the socioeconomic, right?
Yes.
That's what I think is a bigger determining factor for success. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Bellamy said that too. He said
I don't think it's racial.
Opportunity.
I don't think it's racial. I think it's if you come from parents that are successful financially, you probably have a greater chance of being successful financially, just because that's the environment you're in. And I think it's regardless of race,
Well,
so
Bellamy said it's all about opportunity. So they have to have opportunity and
I'm going to use an example. The town that I live in, which is a big town, 90,000 people, Middletown. There's 2 high schools: Middletown South, Middletown North. Middletown South, the area that is designated for Middletown South, traditionally has been higher economically, financial success as far as the people that live in that town, as far as net worth, right? The other side of town, and by the way, diversity-wise, probably the same. So probably 75, 80% Caucasian, both sides. The other side of town is less economically successful. Now, what is that school 3 years ago, the one Middletown North, was rated among the bottom third in New Jersey. The one Middletown South was in the top probably 10% of New Jersey. They teach the same exact things, both sides of town. But the test scores, and Larson would notice, the test scores on one side of town are significantly higher than the other side of town. And the only difference is that their parents are probably financially more successful and maybe have more help educationally along the way, right? I don't know if it's cultural or help education.
Oh, okay.
They have higher. That's probably the biggest factor, and probably graduation percentage. Those are probably the 2 biggest factors as to why the one school is rated higher than the other. You're teaching the same exact things. If you're to go to the athletic facilities, both beautiful athletics facilities, almost the same exact school on both sides. That's the only. Now, since COVID, because the housing prices have jumped up, and a lot of people from Staten Island to where we are, we're literally for like 15 minutes from Staten Island, Jersey side. A lot of those people sold their home from New York City and wanted to go out to New Jersey. A lot of people moved in those areas and started building up some of those smaller homes and taking over some of those smaller homes. Those people sold their homes, moved out, got their money. People came in from New York City. That school has moved up 100 spots now in the last 2 years.
That's how much it's gone up?
What that tells me is that people who have come in with more money have moved into that area. Maybe they've had more economic opportunities, or their parents were more educated. Therefore, their kids are a little more educated, and probably their scores and graduation percentages are going up higher. Okay, so It has nothing to do with what
There's
they're
no correlation, is what you're
teaching. It has
saying.
nothing to do with what they're teaching. They're teaching the
Yeah.
same things, basically. Okay, it has to do with the financial background and probably the emphasis on education because of the success the parents had. Nothing other than that, and that's kind of coming into the other side of town now, which is why their school is now coming much closer to the other side of town.
You know, the other factor that you're not talking about, Coach, is Joe Villapiano doesn't live in New Jersey anywhere.
No,
That's true.
Cali. And so, like, they've seen test scores drop drastically.
That's a good point.
You got to hit Joe V.
He's an ocean guy. He's an ocean
Where is he
guy.
in? Isn't he in Massachusetts now?
No, he's in California.
He's like
What?
he's
I didn't
from
know
like
that.
3 towns over from where
Yeah,
three or
I've
four
been
towns.
there.
Yeah.
All right. We'll wrap things up here.
Great point. Great point.
Erica, thank you so much. You're always a pleasure. I'm
She's
Rebel
a tiger.
Republic.
She's a tiger.
Yes. She is. She's fierce.
I do have a confession. I do
Jeffrey.
have a confession. Hold on, you guys have to hear this. So when I saw Cully on Saturday.
Oh, no, you don't have to say anything about me.
No. A few of our previous friends from the UConn football team were there.
Yes.
And they did make a comment that they liked that I spiced it up a bit because it was far too right for them previously.
Thank
and
you,
I'm
Erica.
bringing it back to the middle. So
Did they say that?
They did.
Oh my God.
And I will not say their names, but
No, Uwe hates me for it. I know.
two
that.
people, and I didn't say it was Uwe. I didn't say it was Uwe.
No, Uwe always tells me. Uwe.
It was two people, two of them.
Yes.
That came up and made that point, and they said they'll start listening again. And I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be a regular.
No, Uwe always always
say it
tells
was
me not to do
Uwe.
the
Will you
show.
stop pointing the finger at Uwe? It was not Uwe.
No, I'm just telling. He tells me himself not to do the show because he thinks it's going to hurt our audience.
Because you're a registered Democrat, right?
I am a registered Democrat.
I know.
Listen, I am. So I can always claim that.
So there you go, Dave. It brings a little balance.
We got to him.
A little
We got
balance.
to him.
I like balance. I like balance.
Finally got the Cully.
balance.
Jeffrey, thank you so much for coming on. I always love having you.
Jeff
I'm
Larson.
glad.
Next time I'm down.
Are you on spring break right now?
No. We're back. We're rolling, man.
You guys
Hey,
are back?
actually, Cully, I just thought of you. We went down on Friday night. We had friends in town, and we went down to Clearwater, down at the waterfront, and
Yes.
I walked by Hogan's.
Yes. You went to the beach shop? You walked by it?
Oh yeah. He's got nothing on you though, Cole. I'm just saying.
Oh, thank you.
Jeff, the next time I'm down in St. Pete.
Yes, let's go.
You guys
my
are all
parents' house
pumping
was
me
down
with
there.
that.
They had it for
I know.
36 years.
I know. I'm gonna go down there and just stalk him one day.
You got to get your job, Cully.
I know. I got to go there.
We'll all write you letters of recommendation.
Steve, you want to be a teacher?
No, I don't. I applied for a job at Hogan's Beach.
Name your subject. Name your subject.
I you know what? I can't teach anything. Don't you have to have? You have
Not
to
true.
have.
Broadcasting. What about broadcasting? What about broadcasting? You do great.
That you guys offer that there? You just have to get your certificate.
Now we do. Sure. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'll think about it. I did that thing at Razul's fundraiser, and he offered me a job to come there and help with the guys in the house. We talked about doing their resumes, applying for jobs, making LinkedIn profiles. So I may consider doing that if I can find somewhere to live. That's the only thing.
We'll find you something.
I don't want to live in the house. He said you can live in the house. I don't want to live in the house. If I can find an affordable place, I would go there.
Mm-hmm.
But Jeffrey, always great. Thank you so much. And Coach, you're phenomenal. We appreciate your takes. I can't wait to.
And he went left tonight, so mark it
Yeah,
down.
Wow, there was a lot of left stuff to talk
brief,
about.
very
I can't wait till we get to talk about the other case on Wednesday. I get to talk about my favorite case, the Karen Reed case.
Oh, that's gonna be fun! I can't
Yeah.
wait.
Hey,
Yes.
Steve,
So you better do your research.
I know you're getting off the air, but like, Did you see my uncle go off on?
I loved it.
That was
No.
awesome. That was pretty cool, man.
It was
Who did he
amazing.
go off on?
He went on.
The whole
it was
committee.
the Social Security committee, and he went off. The thing I
Oh,
like
look it
about
up.
him is he gets all fired up, but even when he goes after Elon Musk.
Yes.
He still gives him like his credit. He's like, I'm sure like he's amassed his wealth through great experiences, different things, but where are you? Like, you have to answer to the American people. It was like civics lesson, and I was just like, I'm glad that's my
Wow. So he got up during session and did this.
A couple times he has.
That's awesome.
It's been a few times.
watch it.
Okay.
You get all
I
fired up.
gotta look that up.
And actually, he's gotten credit for being one of the only ones that is actually like
Called him out.
Go and bitch, but
Yeah.
then they don't follow through. And
Yeah.
John follows through. Like, he's going to hold them accountable, which they're saying, he's waking people up to really like look at this and get them to see all sides of it. And you know how I feel about your uncle. I love him.
Yeah. But he's been fighting for Social Security even when Biden was in there. Like, it's a hard thing to look at and think. But I just thought you'd like
you got to look it up.
Awesome.
Look it
That's
up.
awesome. I will definitely look at that. But thank you for coming on our show. I'm sure our ratings will get so many more viewers now because we had
that is 100% because of Erica and
yeah.
Do with it.
Yes, and share the show. So for Jeffrey,
It'll be better next time, Jeff, when I break that picture out of you wearing an apron.
Erica, and the coach himself. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life.